In this video, we'll compare DuPont analysis, the DuPont ratios breakdown between Kroger and Whole Foods. Now, from notes, the text, or Googling the term, should know that the DuPont analysis is a way of breaking down return on shareholder investment, which is net income per dollar of equity. That's how much money the firm made, or how much accounting income the firm made per dollar of equity supplied by the shareholders. And you can break that down into three main components: sales profitability, asset efficiency, and financial leverage. Net income per dollar of sales, that's how much profit you make per sale. Sale per dollar of assets is how many dollars of sales you made using the assets you have. The more efficiently you use assets, the greater number of sales you can make with the same given set of assets. If you multiply net income over sales times sales over assets, the sales would drop out of the denominator here and the numerator here, and you have net income over assets, which is the return on assets. This is measuring how well you generate income using your assets, and then financial leverage measures how much other people's money, liabilities, you're using to increase the return to the shareholders. The more dollars of assets you have for every dollar of equity means that you're using more financial leverage. And if you multiply these three together, sales drops out, and then assets drop out, and then you have just net income over equity. But it's nice to know where the net income per dollar of equity comes from if you're a shareholder. And what we can see here is if we look at Kroger, they are less profitable based on net profit margin. That's the first component over here. The sales profitability is the net profit margin, and that's the ratio we use to measure sales profitability. The next ratio, which we would call or term the total asset turnover, is the ratio that measures how many dollars of sales you generate for every dollar of asset. And we can see here the total asset turnover for Kroger is materially higher than the one for Whole Foods. So they don't make as much profit when they make a sale, but they make more sales. So in the end, it isn't enough to increase their return on assets over the top of Whole Foods, but it brings it closer. All right, in 2016, about 5.5% compared to 8%, when the net profit margin is actually about half as much as Whole Foods. All right, so the return on assets gives us a measure of how much you earned on the assets you were using, and by breaking this down, we get an idea of how much was profitability per sale, and then how much was efficiency. And Kroger, again, is more efficient, generates more sales per dollar of assets than Kroger. Kroger is more efficient at generating sales per dollar of assets than Whole Foods. But we also note that this has come down a little for Kroger. The profitability is up slightly, but the efficiency is also down slightly. For Whole Foods, we also see that profitability has dropped a bit over the last 5 years, and efficiency has increased slightly. All right, but bottom line, when we get to the return on equity, the main reason that Kroger's return on equity is twice the size of Whole Foods is Kroger uses massive amounts of financial leverage. That's the equity multiplier, assets per dollar of equity. So having this higher equity multiplier by using more debt or more liabilities to fund your assets creates this leverage effect. So Kroger doesn't make as much return on assets, but because they use more OPM, other people's money, whether it is interest-bearing, such as the short-term debt and the long-term debt, or non-interest-bearing, such as using a lot more accounts payable. Other people's money is other people's money, and it creates this leverage effect, which means that the shareholders don't have to supply as much money, and they earn a higher return for every dollar they do supply to the Kroger folks. All right, so Kroger has twice as high return on equity, which is what shareholders care about, mainly because of its heavy use of financial leverage.